Lord said, confession good for the soul. So right now, all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. Shot call to be known with the niggas letting shots off. Either that or the right hand to the top dog. Funny how we see better than that the lives lost. Let me focus on the life that's hopeless. I'm there pumping out, knowing the Lord again for that hocus pocus. Used to roll with niggas that cooked up with weaponry. Dreamers claiming legend. I had no life in jeopardy. And I let my mother want success for me. But that vision take a ground straight to ecstasy. Remember running with brother, even though we did the wrong thing. My life would have been a lot different if my brother Broad Street was too sincere for a wicked game. Shame the Lord's name. Now we afflicted the pain on his apple voice was to be respected by stand-up niggas. Not knowing that the handcuffs custom made the fight. All I wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. I ain't lying, I was close to dying. Knew I wanted to live, but I wasn't trying. I was the fight, not knowing that this ain't how we live. It's just how they design. Cause when you in the streets, you get more indebted. Ain't no time for me on papers, and I'm restrictions. My father said how hard had a nigga so ass. I didn't care, I wanted fear when I walked past. In the place where a black man's blood is cheap. I thank the Lord for the day I was on sheep. They hear my voice, ask me why I'm UPK. I told them I ain't have a choice. They said God ain't 50-50, it was gonna come to pass. The Lord called me out the world, and that's all I said. All it was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. It should be gay until I hit the fan. I want pop, brother, nigga, fuck the grams. All I wanted was to be a gangster. But I was realized a righteous man. And now I got the upper hand. Gotta promote this brand. Correct all multitudes until they all understand. If I can't get that crowd love, then put me in the hands. So one more money back me is hit man. Reminiscing on a plane that was fat. Shit, I was in the jail. Shit, I needed help. The trauma was locked up in the judge. But man ran on the ship. And the crime is felt. Like I was left by myself. All I wanted was to impress niggas with my grind. Now I trying to do shit to nobody but my hobby. I just know these niggas high by the stuff. One time for the most high, they get a cut from me. Cause all I ever wanted was to smash my focus. No ain't steady cash, not knowing it wouldn't last. You gotta hope yourself by the focus. Cause all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. The decisions that I made from the Lord's anger. Free to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was a danger. The decisions that I made from the Lord's anger. Free to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. Shalom, Israel, shalom. Yahweh Shema was Shah Barakathon on the brothers. Yahweh Shema Thaba Shema shout out to sisters. All right. That's not working. We'll deal with that. The Isupk, man. Israelite School, the Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yana. Precinct Officer 50 Mile Yard. Holding it down to Officer Thabaran arrives. You understand? The break down that history, man. The history, the origin of so-called, you understand, Black History Month, man. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna let that brother tackle that. But until then, we're just gonna go in on a little something. You know what I'm saying? Because contrary to popular belief, when it comes to dealing with this Bible, when it comes to diving into these scriptures, you understand, you find out that the Lord doesn't deal with everybody. You understand? You find out that the Lord doesn't love everybody. You know what I mean? You find out that the Lord has a special people. You know what I'm saying? People that he loves, people that he cherished, so much so that he gave them a law. He gave them laws, Salaki. He gave them covenants that separated them from everyone else. You understand? So a question to ask, you understand, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians is, should we separate or should we integrate? You understand? And we're going to use the Bible to help us figure this out. So we're gonna go to Deuteronomy 4 and verse 6, right? We'll go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6. 1 second. All right, so the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 6. Right? So the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6, it says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You understand? The question you got to ask yourself is, what separates us from the so-called oppressor? You understand? What separates us from the so-called Chinese man, right? What separates us from the so-called Indian man, right? What separates us from the so-called African man? Why is it that we are different, right? Why is it that there is certain stigmas on different nationalities, you know what I'm saying, or different races of people? You know what I mean? Ask yourself that question. What is it that actually separates us from these other nations, right? So I'm reading from the top. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You understand? From the get-go, them saying the Lord gave us these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? To guide us through this world that we live in, man. To give us a moral code. You know what I mean? To give us a standard of living. You know what I mean? From the get-go, the Most High only gave his people, his chosen people, you understand, a blueprint to life. Just like a father who has a plan, you know what I'm saying, for his future son or his future daughter. You know what I'm saying? That father already knows what school he wants his daughter to go to. You know what I'm saying? What school he wants his son to go to. What team he wants his son to play for. You understand? What college he wants him to go to. You know what I mean? That father already has that planned out from the get-go. You know what I mean? When that child is born, that child ain't got to do nothing but do what? But follow orders, right? Ain't got to do nothing but do what he told. You understand? And the only way, technically, his life could be unsuccessful, unprofitable, as if he were to go astray from what his father has already had planned for him. You understand? So what we got to understand is blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians, that what? That the Most High has had a plan, you know what I'm saying, for our life and how we ought to live it before we was here, man. You know what I mean? And it was the laws, statutes, commandments that he put into play that separates us from everyone else. You understand? Because his laws, statutes, commandments do not apply, nor are they for anyone else but blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, right? So I'm reading from the top. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and surely say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. You understand? This is how these other nations should be viewing us, man. You understand? This is how they should be looking at us. They should be like, surely these blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, sure they are a wise and understanding people. You understand? They know that they cannot eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster. Why? Because why? They suffer from high blood pressure. They get diabetes. You understand? They die from eating, you understand what I'm saying, unlawful foods according to their power, according to their God, right? They know that homosexuality, they can contract diseases. They can get sick and what? And then eventually die. You understand? They know they're supposed to love each other and cherish each other. You understand? They know how to deal with each other. These other nations are supposed to be looking at us and envying us, man, right? Wanting to be like us. You understand? That's how it was always supposed to be. You know what I mean? Because we have the laws, such as commandments according to the Bible, that separates us from everyone else, man. You know what I mean? The same way America laws is not the same as the laws in China. China's law is not the same, you know what I'm saying, as the laws in Africa. It's different. You know what I'm saying? It's set apart. It's separate. You understand? The laws of this Bible, man, that is only for blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians is different than anybody's laws, man. You understand why? Because these laws in this Bible are perfect. These commandments in this Bible are perfect, man. You understand? You can do no wrong or cannot go wrong when it comes to following any and every law in this Bible. You know what I mean? If you're a black, Hispanic, and Native American Indian, if you're anybody else, I mean, yeah, you can do what you want to do. You know, so you can live your life how you want to live your life if you're not black, Hispanic, and Native American Indian. Why? Because the scriptures say what? It says, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the other nations. You know what I mean? Like we should have these laws and these, you know what I'm saying, these statutes and commandments and be proud of it, man. Because these other nations will look up to us if we feared our power, man. If we followed our power. You understand? Because we would actually be in power if we were doing so as a nation of people. You know what I'm saying? But under command of General Yohana, man, the Isupk, we're going to bring that into fruition, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to bring the light. We're going to get blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians back on track, man. We're going to bring blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians back to their culture, man, back to their heritage, back to their true identity according to the Bible, man. You understand? Our so-called leaders that rule over us, that have a say-so, you know what I'm saying, and speak for us, speak on our behalf, man. It's time for them to stand down, man. You understand? It's time for them to stand down and sit their asses down somewhere because they've had more than enough time, you understand, to deal with blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians' problem, man. They've had over 500 years, man. You understand? And we still in the same goddamn condition. You know what I'm saying? If not worse. You know what I mean? It's time for us to elect a new leader, man. You understand? And the Lord has already done so. The same way when you go on these records, man, you look back, you know what I'm saying? The Lord always only dealt with one man at a time to lead the nation of Israel, man. You know what I'm saying? That man today is Commander General Yohana, man. You know what I mean? And the brother's resume, you know what I'm saying, speaks for itself. You understand? So we're going to read from the top, right? The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this nation is a wise and understanding people. Verse 7. For what nation is there so great who hath God so nigh unto them? You understand? Like we got the Lord, man. The Lord is right there with us, man. You understand? You go back in these records, man, you find out that the Lord, man, fought all of our battles for us, man. Got us out of anything that we was dealing with. You know what I mean? Once we started following him, man. Once we started obeying him, like any good father, man. You understand? You good. You understand? You're a good son or a good daughter to your father. Anything happen to you, you go through anything, your father's gonna make sure you two are. You understand? He's gonna make sure you straight. He's gonna make sure whatever you're going through, you know what I mean, it gets handled. It's done. You understand? Lord is the same way, man. You go back in these records, look in the records, man. You know what I'm saying? You'll read about these stories, man. When we got back right with the Lord, after we messed up, you know what I'm saying? We got back on track, man. The Lord was always there for us. You know what I mean? Now is the time for us to get back on track with the Lord. Get back to these laws and commandments so the Lord can send Christ back, man, to crack that sky open. You know what I'm saying? Send those 200 million angels and Christ down here, man, to overthrow this wicked kingdom we live in. You know what I mean? So we can rule, man. So a black man can rule this place, man. You know what I'm saying? And get everything in order, right? Get everything in order because it's chaos on this goddamn earth. You understand? I bet you the so-called Chinese man wish he had God's laws right about now. You know what I mean? They out there dropping like flies, man. You understand? They ain't trying to give you the exact number of how many of them out there dying. You know what I mean? They don't even want you to know, but it is ooh-wee. You know what I mean? Ooh-wee. See, that wouldn't happen if you had real men of the Lord, man. God shows the people running this earth, man. You understand? Because we wouldn't even allow them to eat that nonsense, man. You understand? It's garbage, man. It's not good for you at all. You know what I mean? And the Lord is dealing with them right now. You understand? You go on these records, man, you find out that that's something that us as blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, not only, that is some good wisdom and understanding to have right there. Why? Because you go on these records, you find out you're not supposed to eat these things that these other nations eat, man. You understand? The Bible says you can't eat no goddamn bat. You understand? The Bible says you can't eat no goddamn armadillo. You know what I mean? You can't eat these abominable creatures, man. You understand? There's a criteria that anything you eat on this earth has to fit. It's got to fit a specific criteria, man. You know what I mean? It's a thin line, man. You understand? Like the scripture say, the straight, we gotta live our life a certain way, man. Why? Because the Lord chose us to be a special people, man. To be a holy people unto him. You understand what I'm saying? We're gonna get it, man. You know, I'm gonna get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6, right? It's not. Let me get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. It's not right here. Yeah. You understand? The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. It says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. You understand? You gotta understand, you gotta break this down, right? Because what we think to be holy, and what we learn from the Christian church is not what holy is, man. You understand? Holy, they make holy seem all, first of all, they make the Bible seem all hocus pocus and smoke and mirrors. You understand? Just a bunch of confetti and, you know, just magic, man. You know what I'm saying? They make the Bible like Peter Pan and just, you know, just little what you call it, little things, man, a little floating thing with the wings. You know what I'm saying? Fairies, pixie dust. You understand? They make it just seem like it's all a big ass joke, man. When this Bible is very real, man. And the word holy, when you look it up, right? A good source to use is the Zondervan Bible Compact Dictionary. You understand? You'll find out that the word holy just means separate, right? Or set apart, right? Like if you got like a holy temple, that temple is set apart from everywhere else, man. Right. You understand? It's not included with other places. You know what I'm saying? It stands alone, right? Well, the Lord has a holy people, man. Meaning what? He has a separate people on this earth that only belong to him. That's right. That he only cares for. You understand? We're gonna read it from the top. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. You understand? It says unto the Lord thy God. You know what I mean? Meaning what? Meaning the Lord is who is considering us to be holy, man. He is the one who has considered us to be special, man. To be set apart. You know what I mean? From everyone else, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Once you learn that, what does that mean? That means you shouldn't give a damn what the hell anybody say about you. God has told you special black man, Hispanic man, Native American Indian man. You understand? To hell with what America thinks want to call us, you know what I'm saying, criminals and animals and super predators, man. You understand? When we know who is the real monster on this earth, you understand? We know who is the real beast on this earth, because according to the Bible, it's not you, brother. No matter how many crimes you committed on this earth, man, it will never be, you know what I'm saying, be equal to what the so-called oppressor has done, man. You understand what I'm saying? You're a Hispanic man, you're a Native American Indian man, and woman and child, man. You shouldn't give a damn what anyone else has to say about you, man. Because God has chosen you as a special people, man. You understand? I mean, if you don't care about, you know what I'm saying, what the Most High say, then good night. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. You understand? But with that, I'm going to pass the class over to Priest Officer Top 1.
Christ, Salakia for the tardiness. You know what I'm saying? Just had to make my way from the prior engagement. You know what I'm saying? But I want to wait real quick, man. You go over some of y'all hit me, man. Over down the water, bro. Yeah. Well, you was just going into something real heavy too. What scripture was that you was reading, bro? Is it Deuteronomy 7:6? I'm gonna read that one again, man. Because, as a matter of fact, that kind of goes with my class today. Let me get to it, Salakia.
Gotcha. Just a second.
Kind of, you get, when you get a chance, just give Yazan a call.
Yazan?
Yeah. I'm gonna show you too wild. Okay. So we was reading 7:6, right?
That's right.
Okay. I'm gonna read it again, man, because this is 12. First thing first, let me say real quick. Yahweh Shem Shah brought that to the brothers. Yahweh Shemar thought Shem Shah to the sisters. You know what I'm saying? So we out here, Monday night Isupk class, Durham, North Carolina, Isupk. You know what I mean? My brother Mahayor held me down. You know what I'm saying? Right now, Priest Officer 50,001. I'm gonna continue the class, but I want to go back to what the brother was just reading because it's so important. And what he said is true too. But he said you really got to break it down. You know what I'm saying? Because if I may, and Mahayor, if I'm lying, please don't let it go by, right? Let the people know if I'm lying, right? Who your young son? Most time correct. Tell me that we go at the camp, right?
Right.
We go at the camp to teach, to do what? What do we say every time we get on the podium? We say, when the Isupk started out in 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, right? We teach the truth according to the Bible. Right. Before we say anything else, we say that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the true Jews according to the Bible.
Damn right.
Who do we end up having to fuss and fight with the most at camp? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Let me tell you, brother, this scripture right here, this bedrock milk scripture, is a scripture that will make a black man want to kill you.
Right.
It will make a Hispanic man want to kill you.
That's right.
The minute you saw what this is really talking about, they don't want to hear that. Because see, when they read, "For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, the Lord thy God chose to be a special people unto himself," they like the way that sounds because it can be Christian. Well, you're Christian, right? I chose the Christians.
Right.
I chose the Christian church. I chose the Mount Zion Baptist, whatever, right? That sounds real nice.
Right.
But when you say, well, the word holy doesn't mean you hoskula boskula every Sunday. The word holy doesn't mean that you're really, really good in playing tambourine. The word holy doesn't mean you hit high notes really well. You know what I'm saying? Because some people, it's a lot. Wow. Some people really believe that like the singing well makes you more like a child of God.
Right.
Like if you can go in a Christian church and sing, then man, you've been really blessed. You really blessed. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is looked upon you with favor. And what they say in the Christian church something about highly favored, what they say?
You're anointed.
Anointed or something. I'm blessed and highly favored. Right. Some garbage like that. That's what they say. But they don't want to hear this when you say that holy. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Like my brother broke it down perfectly. That holy, it just means separate,
Right.
Or set apart. You know what I'm saying? It means like it's over here. You know what I mean? Like the special, don't touch that one. Have you ever seen somebody who's like a sneakerhead or they collect a certain thing, right? And they'll have a lot of that thing. But then when they be like, okay, we want to see the prized possession, they'll be like, oh, really? They got to go into a vault. It's like a door with like a dial, and they make sure ain't nobody looking, and they spin it and they open it, and they be like, listen, never let them go back here. And there be one pair of sneakers on a stand in a glass box, right? Like that is holy. You read the scripture in Second Ezra, right? We all come from Adam. That's true. Like every single human being on planet Earth comes from Adam.
Right.
Every single human being is not in that glass case.
That's right.
Straight up. Like only blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are in that glass case.
Right.
We're the only ones that are his special people, the ones he chose, right? Where we going? The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. Now, this is the real kicker. This is why this scripture will make black people hate you.
That's right.
Because they cannot stand to hear that they're a special people. I'm telling you right now from personal experience, do not want to go to heaven if I may, if Caucasians are not involved. No, I'm serious. What it is, to black people, please, to black people in America, it cannot be heaven,
Right.
unless it got some white up in it.
Damn right, bro.
You understand? You know what I mean? And I understand. You know what I mean? I know why you have these notions, right? These ridiculous notions. I know why. Because all your life, everything black was what? The ghetto. All your life, the ghetto and the body odor. Yeah, please. I'm swallowing that, but the brother might want some. God. Yeah, I'm too wild on the ice. You know what I'm saying? But the water. You know what I mean? But yeah, to in America, right? Or you go even outside of America. You go to South America. You know what I'm saying? You go to Canada. Wherever black people are, wherever Hispanics are in the general population, 9 times out of 10, that's the ghetto. That's the part of town you don't want to go to. Where the water. Okay. You understand? So that's how they view it. They're looking at heaven. Well, heaven must look like what? Buckingham Palace. Heaven must look like, give me some places, I don't know, Denver, Colorado or something. I don't know. Wherever they are. You know what I'm saying? Massachusetts. You know what I'm saying? Heaven, it can't be heaven unless it looks like, y'all ever been to Cheesecake Factory? You ever been to Cheesecake Factory? Yeah. And you see I think Cheesecake Factory is supposed to be like, all the architecture is supposed to be like Mediterranean, right? I think that's what it's supposed to be. But all that architecture and it looks all pretty and everything, that's supposed to be heaven to them. And they always associate pretty, clean places with what? With white.
Right.
So they in their mind, there's absolutely no way that heaven could be a place where it's a bunch of niggas and spics. Impossible. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what heaven is.
Right.
You understand? That's what it is. It's not a place. It's not damn Salakia. I don't know how it is, but I mean, I know that there's certain, I always say this, there's certain like Negro free places. There's certain places where you can go and black people go, but they're designed to not really be inviting to black people. Starbucks is one of those places.
Right.
Starbucks is not designed to be inviting to black people because black people are priced out.
Right.
You get a regular cup of coffee and it's yeah, like you know what I mean? And then they change the words. They don't got small, medium, and large. What is it? Tall, grande, and venti. They change everything around so that way black people don't even feel comfortable in that.
Right.
Right? So little white students can go do their homework in peace. Right? Panera Bread is another one. Ain't no black man about to pay no $6. That's not even that delicious. You know what I mean? But that's how it is. And that's why our people don't realize that, or they don't want to accept that God only loves them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now we're gonna get into, please.
And it's just because it's like, I mean, when you bring it home, it's like you can accept. Like even among siblings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even among siblings. You'll argue with your siblings and say what? Nah, mama love me more.
Right.
Nah, daddy love me more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like when it goes to the home, you can do it, but like on that global scale.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's too much pressure.
Right.
To believe that the Most High power.
Right.
Only gives a damn about you.
Right. I like why you said that. Boy, get that brother a hand. Because he said pressure, right? Because the pressure is what? Please.
Come from the Christian church. You can't be special because everybody has to be inclusive.
True.
Mm-hmm.
But what he said pressure. Why would it be more pressure if you're God's special people?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't, but it is.
Because you don't feel special. You don't think you deserve it, because you've been taught under this system.
Right? No, that's 100% true, but that doesn't relate to the pressure. Okay, it's like this. If you have a parent, right? A strict parent, and then you have another person who has a parent who's not so strict, who has more pressure on them?
Mm.
The person with the strict parent, the person with the strict parent, right? And they both have a parent, but the person with the strict parent has more pressure. Now we know, according to the Bible, that the Most High is a strict parent.
Yeah,
He's so strict, he will kill everybody. Everybody.
that's true. That's right.
And leave a couple. You know what I'm saying? Yo, everybody else is wicked. The whole human race is wicked. I'm just going to save this one family. That literally happened. All these people you see on the planet of now, millions of people, it was here before. The earth wasn't always, it didn't start, Adam and Eve were not the only first two people on the planet that's alive.
Right.
Right? There were millions of people on the planet. The Most High killed everybody and saved one family. One. You know what I'm saying? So, but the brother said pressure. I'm going to give it to you. The Christian church, blacks and Hispanics in the Christian church, part of why they don't want to be God's chosen people is because they don't want to have a strict father.
Right.
They don't want to have to know, like, oh, wait a minute. He's my father.
Right.
See, if it's just the guidance counselor, who gives a damn what the guidance counselor thinks about anything? I'm going to run around the school. I'm going to throw stuff. I'm going to be crazy. They're not my daddy. I mean, isn't that what they say?
Right.
Tell me who it is. I mean, I never said it because that one was good in school. I was good. I know some of y'all bad mofos. I know y'all was in the school and them guidance counselors and deans knew y'all on a first name basis, but you got my y'all.
No, it's funny though. It's like, it'd be cool to say, man, I don't give a damn. He said, you're my mom.
Right.
When you don't even listen to your mom.
Exactly. But still, you recognize like that there is an authority there.
Right.
So when someone ain't your mother or is not your father, the first thing you say, I ain't my daddy. Man, you ain't my mom. I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? That's why our people don't like to hear that, right? Holy people, special. No, I don't want that. No. Because then I may have to stop eating this pork chop.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I might have to stop eating these shrimps and these crabs. Ooey is so disgusting.
Right.
That's the different form of ooey. Like there's ooey is good and there's ooey that's disgusting.
Right. And
then now it's all over YouTube and Facebook and everything. Some black woman sitting up there with a cleavage all out, sucking down lobster tails. Good night. You know what I'm saying? Doing what they call them mukbang videos and all that stuff. It's weird. You know what I mean? But no sweat. We're gonna get into now something that they put in front of us. Brother, if you can, Bob, give me a foretime. We gotta start there. We're gonna talk about what we in right now. right? It's something that we think is some beautiful, wonderful thing that proves that we have progress in America, right? Well, unfortunately, the Isupk, not unfortunately for that, but Salaki, if I may, the truth is, and the Isupk has been bringing out since 1969, that in America, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians.
Again, Salaki.
No, you 12.
Romans 15:4.
Okay, Romans 15:4.
Come
I think.
Yeah, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians in America are slaves, and we've been slaves, and that's all we can be in this place, right? Because this place is wicked, right?
Right.
And we are suffering the punishments, right? We are suffering the punishments of our ancestors,
Right.
because guess what? Because they also didn't want to be God's chosen people.
Right.
That's the real. I mean, bringing it all home, right? Like the brother said, man. We read in Deuteronomy 7:6. The whole point of the scripture is to tell them after they got out of Egypt, like, hey, listen, the Most High chose y'all. What did they do after they found out the Most High chose them?
They rebelled.
They rebelled. They made a golden calf. They didn't want to be God's chosen people. You understand? Or you could say they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? So go ahead and read the scripture you got, brother.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written
What
aforetime
are we reading right now? You know?
were written for our learning,
Mhm.
that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
Right, we have to read these scriptures and go into this history of who we are. We have to. You understand? So that way we can have hope to get out of slavery, to get out of our condition. You understand? So we can know the truth about how we got here in the first place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't, what they're saying, you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. That's true. We got to look back on our ancestors who are actually us. Every single one of us in this room, all our brothers and sisters in the world, in the school, we all been here before. And we was those people. We came out of Egypt, man. And some of us, shoot, even in getting out of Egypt, some of us followed Moses, some of us didn't. You know what I'm saying? So now, Slackers, bro, I gotta send you a few articles.
I'm ready.
Black History Month.
Right.
Isn't it wonderful?
Hell no.
Why you say that, huh?
This is like a con game, you know what I'm saying? Like, I be looking at, I don't even watch most of the programs,
Mm-hmm.
but I just look at the lineup, what they put on, you know, and I just see, look at this. You know, there's only one show that I like to watch, and I didn't see it this year, was the Slave Chronicle.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of that stuff, man,
Right.
that shit is just a con game and take you off your game, man, you know? That's all it is.
Well, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. We're gonna get into it. First things first, let me send you like three articles. So there's one. Boom. You're gonna get to the first one I just sent you. We're gonna get to a little bit later. I got that from history.com. Might just start with these two. And then I also have something else. Oh, yeah, this one too. Paste, boom. So
Yeah, I
let me
got
see.
three.
So like, yeah. We'll get back to this one. All right, so start off with the history.com one. I think it's the second link I sent you.
Guardians, Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration.
Yep,
Okay.
that's the one.
That's the one with Martin Luther King on it. One got Martin Luther King, the middle one. The second one got a picture of the March on Washington.
You don't see this at the top?
It's a different picture on mine. Let me see. I'm gonna go up a little higher. These are the three that I got. That one, this one, and this one.
Let me see. Slack it. Oh, no, yeah. This
Got
one.
three different pictures. They got different pictures because it's different font.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Cause I see what it is. It just popped up within the yeah. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
So
came
once
up.
you click it,
Okay.
yeah.
Come on.
So just start go ahead and reading that article.
Okay.
So we're gonna get some history on Black History Month, where it comes from, who started it, and I want you to pay attention. An interesting fact about one of the reasons why it's even in February in the first place. Read that, brother.
Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing the central role of Blacks in U.S. history. Also known as African American History Month, the event grew out of Negro History Week, the brainchild of noted historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the United Kingdom, also devote a month to celebrating Black history.
Okay, so we know. So it started originally as Black History Week, right? We're gonna get into details on that. Right. This is what's really interesting about it. Read on out. Go down versus origins of Black History Month.
Origins of Black History Month. The story of Black History Month begins in 1915, half a century after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States. That September, the Harvard-trained historian Carter G. Woodson and the prominent minister Jesse E. Moreland founded the Association of the Study of Negro Life and History, an organization dedicated to researching and promoting achievements by Black Americans and other peoples of African descent. Known today as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. The group sponsored a Negro History Week.
This is what I want you to really listen to. Read
in
it.
1926, choosing the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln.
Of who?
Abraham Lincoln.
No, I think you're talking about somebody else.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Who else?
And Frederick, the white man Douglass.
Read it as it is. We'll get to it. We're gonna get there.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
Read on.
The event inspired schools and communities nationwide to organize local celebrations, establish history clubs, and host performances and lectures.
Now there's a part right under that. Read that too.
Did you know the NAACP?
The what?
NAACP.
What does NAACP stand for?
National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Right. Read on.
Was founded on February 12th, 1909, the centennial anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln.
So, Black History Month began as Black History Week by Carter G. Woodson, who was what you might call a Black scholar with Harvard, right? It was set up to coincide with whose birthdays?
Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
Now, y'all start telling me, what do Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass have in common?
They had white fathers, so they're white men.
They're both white men. But even if we say, okay, Frederick Douglass, right? Abraham Lincoln is a known white man. A known white man. So Black history has its origins in a week that was designated in part to coincide with celebrating the birthday of a man who's not even Black, Abraham Lincoln. I'll give you some more. So like jump to that when I text you that article on Abraham Lincoln. Read some of that real fast. This is the origin of your Black History Month.
The origin of Abraham Lincoln?
It should say 5 things you didn't know or something like that about Abraham Lincoln.
Is it the same article?
It's a different one. Go to your text.
Oh,
it's the
okay.
last one I sent you. The last link I sent you.
Okay. Five things you may not know about Abraham Lincoln.
Now, we're not going to actually get into the details of it. I just want you to scroll down and read just the 5 little subtitles. I'll go into detail.
1. Lincoln wasn't an abolitionist.
Abraham Lincoln was not an abolitionist. Why is it saying that? Why is it saying that Abraham Lincoln was not an abolitionist? He freed the slaves, right?
Like he wasn't really with the philosophy or the movement of abolishing slavery. He did it out of necessity and preserving the Union.
Exactly. What is the famous? Does anybody know the Abraham Lincoln quote? What did Abraham? If you know it, I'll be impressed. What did Abraham Lincoln famously say about slaves?
Well, I can paraphrase it. I don't know.
Please.
He said that if he had the preference of one, the white man or the black man being on top, he would prefer that the white man would be on top.
That's
And then he also said that if he could unite the country, the Union, without freeing the slaves, he would. But he couldn't see that he could do that. So that's why he did it.
right. I'm going to read it right now. The actual letter. 1 second, Salakia. We're really getting into this history here, man. These are primary sources. Salakia. Check this out. So this is a letter. So again, this is primary sources. This is a letter that Abraham Lincoln sent to Horace Greeley, written during the heart of the Civil War. This is one of Abraham Lincoln's most famous letters. Greeley, editor of the influential New York Tribune, had just addressed an editorial to Lincoln called "The Prayer of 20 Millions," making demands and implying that Lincoln's administration lacked direction and resolve. President Lincoln wrote his reply when a draft of the Emancipation Proclamation already lay in his desk drawer. His response revealed his concentration on preserving the Union. The letter, which received acclaim in the North, stands as a classic statement of Lincoln's concept. A few years after the president's death, Greeley wrote an assessment of Lincoln. He stated that Lincoln did not actually respond to the editorial, but used it instead as a platform to prepare the public for his altered position on emancipation. So this is actually Abraham Lincoln's word. This is a short letter. I'm going to read the whole thing, right? And as I'm reading this, I want you to remember that whenever you're doing anything celebrating Black History Month, you're also celebrating this man, because that is partly why it even started. We're going to read further on in that article about how I like to bring out a lot of did you knows. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln's birthday, as they kind of said it, anything involving Abraham Lincoln was like celebrated by Black people? Think about how Black people loved Bill Clinton to a degree. To a degree. We thought he was, I was young at the time, but I heard that Black people looked at him as being like cool. He like played the saxophone. Please give me some more. Yeah, tell
I
me.
was a mailman.
Yeah.
All of you know that. But it was these offices I would go into, the little mail on 125th Street, and they had this picture of Clinton with an afro on their desk. A lot of them. It was crazy, man.
No sweat. No sweat, brother. I mean,
It was crazy.
but we've done it. Please,
So, you know,
please. Yeah.
why is it that they want him to be?
We always looking for that savior. We always looking for John Brown. John Brown was a famous abolitionist.
That's it. Ain't nothing else. That's it right there.
Right. We always looking for John Brown. We always looking for some abolitionist, somebody who's seen that they're on our side to validate us from the upside. Right. So the first one I could think of, or not the first one, we're reading about Lincoln, right? We're gonna get into this. But what's that saying, right? And I know this to be true. I'm gonna say something from personal experience too. There's a saying that back in the day, every Black woman had a picture of Martin Luther King, white Jesus, and who else?
Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, and Kennedy.
Kennedy. Black people loved John F. Kennedy. They even loved his brother. Those Kennedys were very, very popular amongst Black people because they talked a big game. They seemed like they was down for the cause, and they would say little things that make Black people feel included, and that's what we were looking for.
You know,
Please.
if I mean, they did stand up to those, to the Southern segregationists. So that's what made Black people love them. Like, I could kind of understand a little bit why we loved him so much, because he did stand up against the Southern segregationists and put legislation, like they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as well as the Immigration Act of 64, and other legislation during his administration. So there was a good reason.
No, well, but then for that matter, then there's a good reason why they were loving Abraham Lincoln too.
Yeah, but at that time,
exactly.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah, please.
The Nation of Islam at that time, the Nation of Islam was like the UPK because it was the alternative to Christianity. So we loved it.
Well, let me just clarify you right there. They were not like the UPK. I see what you're in people's minds.
Equivalent. I'm saying like
the way people viewed it.
Right, like it was so far different from Christianity that, you know, militant-minded blacks flocked to it and respected it because it was alternative and it dealt with black people in particular. Right. So that made it more acceptable. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. But again, with the Kennedys,
the truth.
With the Kennedys, they were doing legislation right now. I know, for example, like black people would look at the time, say like the governor down there in Alabama, George Wallace, like he's an enemy of black people because he is a blatant racist. What's the danger in that? What do we know now in the UPK? What have we known since 1969, right? About that kind of perception. Well, I'll give you an example for today. If somebody thinks that Donald Trump is just the pillar of racist and he's the most thing in the world and anything's better than Donald Trump, then what are they going to do?
Well, they're going to do like Malcolm said, if you don't mind me saying that. They're going to look at the fox and the wolf.
Right.
You see, the wolf barks at you. Trump is the wolf. And the other devil that's getting ready to come in there, maybe, is the fox. And he's a canine.
Exactly.
And he will bite you just like the wolf.
Exactly. If you say, oh, Donald Trump is this and that, which he is, but if you then focus on that, then you'll have some people voting for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I'm thinking, because again, we always have to find the one who represents they like us. They're down with us.
They setting it up for Trump to get another.
Yeah, probably.
You setting it up.
You know what I'm saying? But it's the same. The Kennedys, it's the same thing. It's no different. The Kennedys didn't represent some haven of caring about black people at all. Matter of fact, and during the lecture that me and Officer Nassau brought out, right? That that Martin Luther King clip, the audio clip that I played, where he was saying that we got to do something about the Negroes. Who was he talking to? Kennedy.
Yeah.
He was talking to John F. Kennedy. Like, we got to do something about the Negroes. So I see what you're saying. I see why people get duped by that. But that's what we're talking about. We always get played by whoever is willing to play the fox every single time. And that's what, now give me the scripture. Now give me never trust that enemy. That's perfect for this.
What scripture is that up?
That's in the Apocrypha. It's in which is the Bible, Salakia. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to get that twisted. It's in the Apocrypha section of the Bible. It's still the Bible. It's Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 10. Read that and we're going to get into this historical document right here. The water.
No. Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10.
This is what our people would have known if they had been in the truth. This is what our people would have benefited from. This is something that some bros were able to grasp. You know who grasped this concept? Commander Jimmy Honda definitely grasped this concept, but I'm gonna say somebody who was getting onto it, Nat Turner.
Oh yeah.
You do know that Nat Turner was killing babies.
Yeah.
Children. Like, he was picking up little babies and swinging them around.
Then they read that Psalm scripture.
That's what, brother. I imagine he literally read that scripture and took it where he took it. You know what I'm saying? But read that.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
Bill Clinton.
For
Read it
like,
from the top.
never trust thine enemy.
John Kennedy.
Thine enemy.
Read it from the top.
Never trust thine enemy.
Bobby Kennedy.
Thine enemy.
Abe
Never
Lincoln.
trust thine
One
enemy.
more time, brother, from the top.
Never trust thine enemy.
Right. Abraham Lincoln. Read on.
For like as iron rusteth,
Right. So the metaphor, like as iron rusteth,
so is his wickedness.
so is his wickedness. So the metaphor, you got iron. We know that with oxidation, anything made of iron over time is going to rust over. So you won't be able to see the metal itself. You'll see the rust. What you got to say?
But that means his wickedness is going to increase as time goes by as well. Right?
To a degree. We're going to finish it and explain exactly what it's talking about. You know?
Though he humbled, verse 11, Salakia, though he humbled himself and go crouching.
Right, he's crouching, like you brought up before. He's crouching, right? Read on.
Yet take good heed.
Take good heed.
And beware of him.
He humbled himself. He appears like, oh, I don't got to worry about him. Oh, he's safe. He's John Brown.
Right.
He's Abe Lincoln. Good old Abe. Read on.
Yet take good heed of him and beware of him. Shall be unto him as if thou hadst white looking glass.
Right.
And thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away.
Oh, there's still some rust there. That's what it's saying. When it says iron rusted, so the rust is there, but somebody can wipe the rust off. But if you get a looking glass, like something like a magnifying glass, you can look deep and see, oh, wait a minute, nope. He's still wicked. His rust is still there. Is it more than that?
Knowing that his trust has not been altogether wiped away. Salakia. Oh, verse 12.
Please.
Set him not by thee.
Hold that. We're gonna get to that. Right? Let me read this letter from Abe Lincoln. It says, Executive Mansion, Washington, August 22nd, 1862. So by the way, it said earlier that he already had a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation in his possession. This is 3 years before the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed. So he had already had the document. Because like I said in the other thing you read, he was not an abolitionist. It was not his mission, Salakia, to abolish slavery. We don't see what he really felt. Honorable Horace Greeley, dear sir, I've just read yours of the 19th, addressed to myself through the New York Tribune. If there be in it any statements or assumptions of fact, which I may know to be erroneous, I do not, now and here, controvert them. If there be in it any inferences which I may believe falsely drawn, I do not now and here argue against them. If there be perceptible in it an impatient and dictatorial tone, I waive it in deference to an old friend whose heart I have always supposed to be right. As to the policy I seem to be pursuing, as you say, I have not meant to leave anyone in doubt. I would save the Union. I would save it the shortest way under the Constitution. The sooner the national authority can be restored, the nearer the Union will be the Union as it was. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time save slavery, I do not agree with them. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time destroy slavery, I do not agree with them. What did he just say? Please.
If I may. He said that if it wasn't for the fact that the ending slavery was beneficial to the uniting of the Union, he wouldn't support it.
Close. We'll get to what you talking about because he mentions that in a way. But what did he just say? I'll read that part again. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time save slavery, I do not agree with them. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time destroy slavery, I do not agree with them.
Well, he said slavery is cool. You do basically.
He's saying he is indifferent to slavery. He's indifferent. He cares about the union. So on one side, you got those saying, I don't want to save the union unless slavery is still there. And he's saying, I don't agree with them. And the ones on the other side saying, I don't want to save the union if slavery will still be involved. He's saying, I don't agree with them either. He's indifferent to slavery. To him, it's all about his office and establishing and maintaining the union. Let's read more. Here we go. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the union, and is not either to save or destroy slavery. If I could save the union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that.
The great emancipator.
The what?
The great emancipator.
That's what they call him, right? The great emancipator. That sounds like savior, doesn't it? It almost sounds like savior.
It means the same thing.
Right. He gets free. But we just read that he don't give a goddamn about freeing anything.
It was a trick.
Right. Never cared about it. Let's read on. Salakia. What I do about slavery and the colored race, I do because I believe it helps to save the union. And what I forbear because I do not believe it would help to save the union. I shall do less whenever I shall believe what I am doing hurts the cause, and I shall do more whenever I shall believe doing more will help the cause. I shall try to correct errors when shown to be errors, and I shall adopt new views so fast as they shall appear to be true views. I have here stated my purpose according to my view of official duty, and I intend no modification of my oft-expressed personal wish that all men everywhere could be free. Yours, Abraham Lincoln. So, Abraham Lincoln, the man who was given all the credit for freeing the slaves and such, he was in fact not the great emancipator.
No.
He wasn't. He
What?
didn't give a damn about freeing slaves. No, all he cared about was saving the union. He's the president of the United States. It would look bad for him for the union to be broken up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And not fixed under his watch. But nowhere in anything that this man did could it be said that he cared about freeing slaves. And at the end there, he said he wanted that all men everywhere could be free. But obviously, he's not talking about black people because he just said if he could do it without freeing slaves, he would do it. So he's not talking about that. Finish that scripture you got. Read off when you that. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place.
Right. You dropped that. Now jump back to the Abe Lincoln article you had when you reading the 5 things we didn't know about him. And then we're going to jump back to the Black History Month.
Number 3, Lincoln thought colonization could resolve the issue of slavery.
Read, Salakia.
That's interesting.
First, go back to number 2.
Number 2, Lincoln didn't believe blacks should have the same rights as whites.
Read that.
Though Lincoln argued that the founding fathers' phrase, all men are created equal, applied to blacks and whites alike, this did not mean he thought that they should have the same social and political rights. His views became clear during an 1858 series of debates with the opponent in the Illinois race for the U.S. Senate, Stephen Douglas, who had accused him of supporting Negro equality.
So a lot of times, if you look into the history, matter of fact, I implore y'all, if you can, to go watch the movie Lincoln. Go watch the movie Lincoln. It stars, what's his name? What's the cat name? He was like a legendary actor, but he only like
Gregory Peck?
Nah.
Not Gregory Peck?
No, it's newer.
Oh.
I don't forget his name. He's British. I can't think of his name right now. It's slipping my mind. It'll come to me. But yeah, it came out like 2012. It's very detailed. I know some things about it are not fully accurate, but if you watch that movie, it kind of shows in some ways how his mind was working. Everything he was doing was about the Union. There was a lot of pressure on him and things like that. He was working to fix, to resolve, to get the Civil War ended. That's what it was. Like he wanted the Civil War to end, right? There were abolitionists. There were real abolitionists who were like, yo, it needs to be about slavery. Slavery needs to be ended. And he would argue with them and be like, hey, listen, we got to do this. We got to play ball. The South got to figure this out, figure that out, So that's a good movie to watch, you know what I'm saying, just to kind of see how that whole thing went down. You know what I'm saying? But jumping back to the article you're reading, continue.
Stephen who accused him of supporting Negro equality in their fourth debate at Charleston, Illinois on September 18th, 1858.
Right. So one thing I want to say real fast is that sometimes people would think because of what Lincoln was doing, because Lincoln would have conversations with abolitionists, they thought, oh, wait a minute, he's trying to free the slaves. Oh, they think he trying to do this. And he had to that's even that letter he wrote was like, no. It's not like that. I'm not saying that I want to free slaves. I'm not saying that. So he's trying to play both sides, right? But continue.
September 18th, 1858, Lincoln made his position clear. I will say then that I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races.
Read that again.
I will say then, well, let me get to it. Lincoln made his position clear. I will say then that I am not, nor ever have been,
go ahead,
in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. He began going on to say that he supposed blacks having the right to vote, to serve on juries, and to hold office, and to intermarry with whites.
Read on.
What he did believe was that, like all men, blacks had the right to improve their condition in society and to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
All right. Drop this. Make you drop that. Now, Shalaki. Read the next one.
Number 4. Emancipation was a military policy.
Right, we just read that. Drop down.
Number 5. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't actually free all of the slaves.
And this is on what website?
This is history.
This is history.com. This is the History Channel. This is straight up. This is their news. Right? Now read number 5 again.
Number 5. Since Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation as a military measure, it didn't apply to border slave states like Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri, all of which were loyal to the Union. I see that's something I didn't know.
Amazing. And didn't he just say that in the letter we read?
Yeah, he did.
Where he said, if I could free some and then leave some, I'll do that too. Read on.
All of which were loyal to the Union. Missouri actually had 2 competing governments, one loyal to and recognized by the Union, and one loyal to the Confederacy. Lincoln also exempted selected areas of the Confederacy that had already come under Union control in hopes of gaining the loyalty of whites in those states. In practice,
read that again.
Lincoln also exempted selected areas of the Confederacy.
Selected areas, read on.
That had already come under Union control in hopes of gaining the loyalty of whites in those states.
Read on.
In practice, then, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't immediately free a single slave, as the only places it applied were places where the federal government had no control. The southern states currently fighting against the Union.
Wow.
Despite its limitation, and that's amazing. That's saying,
please.
okay. Despite its limitation, Lincoln.
You got something to say? You about to say something?
No, I was gonna say he was off good for those states keeping their slaves.
Right.
He didn't care about them slaves
At all.
Just think of it like he wants to impose his will on the states that's not under his control, but it was cool under the states.
He's doing what presidents do.
Yeah.
Now, listen, if you ever, and I find this so funny, right? If you think about Donald Trump and how he's looked at now, black people look at Donald Trump a certain way, right? Now. But I remember when I was coming up in the 90s, rappers seemed to love Donald Trump. And boxers, they loved him. Every time I turned around, Donald Trump was talking about people. They were always buddy with him. They were always writing rhymes about wanting to be rich like him, and I'm doing this like Trump, and I'm like Trump. He was like, because he wasn't a politician. Now, there was some shady dealings with real estate he was doing, but everyone wasn't privy to that, were they? Please.
Not at all, but also, nobody was hardly privy to it because he kept all of those kind of deals secret.
Exactly.
But what he was doing, he was opening up these venues, particularly in New Jersey and New York, for rappers and for boxers, and he was promoting the boxing at Atlantic City because he had 2 casinos there.
Right. Trump, right. Gotcha. Makes sense. But back then, black people kind of liked Donald Trump. No one was saying, oh, he's a racist, oh, he's a this, oh, he's a...
And they had kept, his father was a Ku Klux Klan leader, and that was during the 70s, 74, 75, and all that came out. But they killed that in the 80s, he was anointed, you know what I'm saying? Everybody forgot that his father was the leader of the Ku Klux Klan in Queens, New York.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Donald Trump was from Queens.
His father.
That's crazy.
Was the head of the Klan.
Right. But yeah, that's how it was, right? That's a whole different thing than how you look at it now. Please.
Not the sidebar.
You good.
You said his father was a head of Klan?
Yeah. They got pictures. You could go on the website. You can see his father in full regalia, in full Klan dress.
Started Klan.
He was. I don't know if he started it out there. I ain't gonna say that, but I know that when the case came up, the case was about housing. He was discriminating against blacks in housing out in Queens. Right. When a lot of blacks were leaving Harlem and Brooklyn, they was going out to Queens, and he was refusing to give them chances, and it was a big court case.
Gotcha.
And that's when it came out. And pictures, you should go in the middle.
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely do some research on that.
Was the leader of the Klan.
Yeah, I know that. I definitely heard that. I've seen some
they got several pictures. It's not one picture.
That's crazy. But even what you're saying is crazy because people forgot about that and just accepted this man because he was what? A cool, rich white man appealing to black people who wanted to rap and box.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's all you gotta do. You don't gotta do much when you're an Edomite, and you can get black people. All you gotta do is do a good dance move. You do a cool dance move or something like that, and now black people want to invite you to the barbecue, please.
I'm talking about let you be a brother.
Right.
Instead of Kobe Bryant, trying to shame the name that you already did.
Right. Get that brother a hand, man. That's absolutely true. When you are a black man, you gotta walk on thin ice with your own people. Hispanic man, you got to walk on thin ice with your own people. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you have some Caucasian that, you know what I'm saying, do one little thing that you think is cool, like playing a damn saxophone in the 90s. This ain't the 60s. He wasn't even that good. He ain't Charlie Parker or nobody, you know what I'm saying? He can play all right. But I guess next thing you know, we want to chill with Kenny G or something like that. Come on, man. What are we doing? But that's what we do. We reading about it right now, man.
Right.
So read that part again. I brought it up to Slaki, if I may. I brought that up to say what? Donald Trump, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump are the same. They're the same. They do what politicians and presidents do. Presidents and politicians, Slaki, they play both sides In order to do what? To get votes and power. The president's job is to keep the country in order in a certain way, to make sure that things are going smooth, whatever, and they do their job. Donald Trump, when he wanted to make money and become a rich mogul, he went to where he can make money off everything. In real estate, he knew he can make more money off of his people than black people, so secretly he kept black people out. But he knew when it came to that entertainment industry, oh man, these rappers, please.
It was his father.
Oh, it's like his fault.
It was his
father. He was doing the real estate stuff.
Yeah, he inherited from his father, but his father was the one that the case was.
Gotcha. I got you. Salaki, the water for that. But I know that when it came to, like you say, to those entertainers and everything, that's when he's like, I can make money off these niggas.
Right.
Or these boxers and these rappers. You go back and watch, I think I showed you a piece of it. You go back and watch an old documentary from the 90s called American Pimp. It's a documentary about pimps and all that. Yeah. Bishop Don Magic Wand got a picture of him and Donald Trump in his calendar. Yeah. Like, yo, that's me and Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump back then, he played that side. Black people didn't call him a racist back then. They didn't know. But as soon as he started running for president, why did they call him a racist? Because he played the role of a racist. He knows, which he is a racist. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Naturally speaking. But he started to play it up. And that's why I brought it out in class before, and I'm glad you said that. Now, Donald Trump appeals to who? He appeals to Southern, white, poor people, kind of, and rich people. But like, poor whites in the South love Donald Trump.
I was in, getting some cars, and I was watching this show on television. These whites walked in there where I was at, turned the TV, didn't say nothing. Just turned the TV to CNN. What's that, Fox News? like I wasn't even there. Like,
wow. Good night.
I said, motherfucker.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
I was watching. I forgot what I was watching, but they just came in and just turned the TV on the Fox News, and that was it.
Because they love him.
That's all they watch.
But that's the funny part. I be watching them like, yo, like, do y'all realize, like, he's from where I'm from? Like, he has more in common with, like, me than y'all poor rednecks. Salaki, please.
I mean, there's a quote in a newspaper from 1989 where Trump said in 1989.
Where he said about if I was going to run?
Yeah, and he did it. Oh, yeah. He did it. He said he was going to appeal to the Southern white suckers and shit. And he did it, man.
He plays it up. I'm not saying he's not a racist, but I'm saying he plays it up. He plays both sides so that way he can look good and be reelected and get power and things like that. Because when you become president, that definitely is a you want to talk about a resume. You'd be happy to put on your resume, I was an assistant manager at such and such place. Imagine now on your resume, I was president of the United States for 8 years. You don't have to pay for anything ever again in life. Please.
I believe that Trump, if somebody else was in power, like if there was another general in power, other than white supremacists, he would have went with that.
Absolutely.
Trump, when he got in power, he saw that the white supremacists was the real power.
That's what I'm saying. The same way Abraham Lincoln was trying, we just read in that part where it said he wanted to appeal to some of those Southerners so he didn't do anything with their slaves. That's the same thing that Donald Trump does. He wants to appeal. After Obama, he said, wait a minute, they really, even though we know he's not a nigga, but they don't like this dark face. They're really angry about that. Really angry about this dark face. They all their loyalist mentalities and all of their American patriotic stuff. I'm gonna appeal to that. I'm gonna appeal to make America great again. He said the other day something about he got mad at. I saw it on the something on ESPN or something like that where. No, it wasn't ESPN. It was a video where he was mad about the Oscars. Like some movie had won Best Picture or something like that. It was a Korean movie or something like that.
Foreign movie.
Some foreign movie. And this fool was like, oh man, whatever. Yeah, he just let some Korean movie win. Whatever happened to Gone with the Wind? You know that Donald Trump did not give a damn about Gone with the Wind, man. That movie came out like the 30s. Like, he doesn't care about that. You know what I mean? Gone with the Wind. He doesn't care about that. He is literally trying to appeal to Southern, old,
That's
racist people. The good old days. A good old boy. He's trying to appeal to good old boys. Well, Abe Lincoln was the first one to do it. Please jump back to what you're reading.
It applies by place of the Southern states currently fight against the Union. Despite its limitations, Lincoln's proclamation marked a crucial turning point in the evolution of Lincoln's views of slavery, as well as a turning point in the Civil War itself. By war's end, some 200,000 black men would serve in the Union Army and Navy, striking a mortal blow against the institution of slavery and paving the way for its eventual abolition by the 13th Amendment.
So let me just say this. Abraham Lincoln didn't free a goddamn thing. Black men in America freed themselves. We fought in the Union Army, died and bled for the ability for the 13th Amendment to be, what do you call it? It's not ratified. Is it ratified? Ratification?
Yeah, it was ratified.
Ratified, yes.
But you know what? That's amazing. He said Navy also.
Mm-hmm.
Like we hear all these movies, they got Buffalo Soldiers.
Right.
What's that one on? Well, anyway,
You know, I never hear about glory.
Yeah, glory. But you never hear about the Navy, the blacks that served in the Navy.
They never really talk about it.
They never talk about
They
it.
never talk about the Navy being involved in the Civil War.
I don't even know.
Now, drop that article and jump back to the other one we had, where we was talking about the regular history article.
Emancipation was the military. Oh, the other article?
Yeah, so read that Did You Know part one more time.
Origin of Black History Month. Black History Month 2020 theme, photo galleries. President officially recognized Black History Month since 17. Okay, by the time you said, did we know? Did you know?
Yeah, start from there.
This is the same article, Black History Month 2020 theme.
Same one.
Okay. Since 1976, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. The Black History Month theme of 2020 theme, African Americans and the vote, because it's election year, is in honor of the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment, granting women suffrage, and the sesquicentennial of the 15th Amendment in 1870, giving black men the right to vote. You know that if I may, you know that woman Susan B. Anthony. You saw the quote that they attributed to her. She said she would cut off her right arm before she would fight to give the Negro the vote.
Really?
Susan B. Anthony.
Good night.
Yeah, I checked it out the other day. There's a quote floating around.
Doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah, she said she would rather cut off her right arm than to fight for niggas to get the vote.
I get it.
Just like that too. The radical Reconstruction period that followed the Civil War, newly freed black men made great political gain, winning office in Southern states, legislatures, and even Congress. The Southern backlash was swift and marked by the passage of Black Code, designed to intimidate black voters. They still do it, prompting a call for formal national legislation on the right to vote. The women's right movement grew out of the abolitionist movement.
Now, isn't that interesting? You just said Susan B. Anthony said that she would cut off her right arm before she would fight for the rights of Negroes, but the women's movement grew out of what?
It grew out of the abolitionist movement.
It grew out of the abolitionist movement. Please.
Okay. Every movement in America grew out of a black movement.
100%.
like even the unions, man.
Mm-hmm.
The union movements began with blacks, and then
Absolutely.
when whites saw the success that with the porters and the union out in Chicago, then the whites came with the mob and took over the unions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The women's rights, all of these, the Jews, they grabbed onto our coattails and their whole agenda. They rode their whole agenda because the Jews is almost as hated as much as black people in America. Almost.
Ugh. Hated. What do you mean?
Because of the challenge of power, not for the same racial.
Right. Okay.
Not for the same racial reason.
Exactly.
But
They're only.
it's
a different type of hatred.
Exactly.
Like you said, they're hated because of the challenge of power.
Exactly.
They're hated because they're powerful, and other powerful people don't like them getting too much power. Don't like them getting right.
Because they had, like in Harvard and other countries, other colleges, they had limits on how many Jews they used to let in, white Jewish people.
Right.
You know, so the Jews used black movements to advance themselves. They helped pass these legislations because it was beneficial to them because they could hide because they was white.
Mm-hmm. This is another thing. Click on that. Start reading from that so we can just kind of get. This is just a little more detail on the Black history origins, right? Because what you just brought out the so-called Jewish man, and this relates to that too. I want you to scroll down to a paragraph that begins, at the time Negro History Week's launch.
Is this Black History Month?
Yeah, it's on the book. Yep. It's the Wikipedia page. Only because
Say
there's
that
a quote
again.
here that I want to get. Go to the paragraph that begins, at the time of Negro History Week's launch.
Gotta hit something. See how it is. I don't know what should I hit this Black History Month thing here?
No, just scroll down. Just keep going.
Because it stops.
Oh no, click on where it says Salakia. History.
History, okay, got it.
And then scroll down.
All right, got it. History Week. United States Black History, United Kingdom, Canada, Public Developments. Negro History Week, which one?
Let's start from where there's a thing that says, at the time of Negro History Week's launch. It's under Negro History Week, and then it's like the third paragraph.
From the event's initial phase. Okay, I got it. Salakia. At the time of Negro History Week's launch, Woodson contended that the teaching of Black history was essential to ensure the physical and intellectual survival of the race within broader society.
Now, I want you to listen to this quote, right? I'm not going to go as far as to call the brother a coon or nothing like that. What I will say is that there's a very elitist mentality and an ignorant way of thinking that, you know what I'm saying, that our people tend to have when they get that education and they think that they're in the upper echelons of society. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and read that, brother.
If a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. The American Indian left no continuous record. He did not appreciate the value of tradition. That's a lie. And where he is today.
And wait, read the part again. Read it right.
And where is he today?
And where is he today?
On the reservation.
Read on. But let's see. So he just came at the American Indians, our brothers, right? Tribe of Gad. He came at them and said they didn't respect tradition. And where are they? Please.
That reminds me when I first came in here and the brother said it was profound to me. He said, when was the last time you seen a Native American?
Probably was Mahayar. Because that brother always bring that up. Right. That's a fact.
That was profound. And I was like, how did you think about that shit? Like
but here's what's real crazy. we know in here that the reason why you haven't seen a Native Indian is for what? Read my mind. Why haven't you seen one?
Because he's on the reservation.
And why is he on the reservation?
Because they destroyed his culture.
Because the oppressor is the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
That's why. That's why you don't see them walking around or in your stores. It's not because of what Carter G. Woodson is saying. Oh, they didn't respect. He said, what? The American Indian left no continuous record. He did not appreciate the value of tradition.
That's a lie.
What?
That's a lie.
He did not appreciate the value of tradition. Please.
Every movie, every book you read about the Native American, it is his tradition that he fought for.
Right. Exactly. Now, again, all of those traditions are not Tawab. All of those traditions are not biblical. We know that those are our brothers, and they started to take on their own traditions. That did happen. Worshiping totem poles and things like that. But to say that they didn't respect traditions or didn't appreciate the value of tradition, that's just not true. Those traditions and their heritage and culture, like us, was stripped from them. Go ahead.
One thing also that I want to say, they kept one tradition that's of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was disputes, they had to counsel. You had to go to the council.
That's a big one, probably the biggest one. And if you go back and read what some of them were saying, and read it from the mind of the UPK brother or sister, and you'd be like, that sounds like that's a UPK concept. The way they talk about brotherhood, the way they talk about dealing with other nations and things like that, like, oh, and how can I forget? Like you said, the council is a big one. But you know who? Salakia. I'm just say this. I'm gonna be nice about it because we know that if y'all haven't heard this, all Israel is invited to the Lord's 51st annual Passover.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Commander Jimmy Yohana has done it again. He has rented out the largest venue I've ever seen in my life, and we're gonna be rocking out. You know what I'm saying, up there in White Plains, New York. So please, if you are Israelite, if you're Black, Hispanic, and Indian, be there. Doesn't matter what group you in. If you in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not saying LGBT. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them other alphabets, AOC and this and United and this and all. Come to the Passover. It doesn't matter. But let me just say this. Shalom, says how Shemal Ataba Shemal Shah. Unfortunately for fake Israelites who made it their business to no longer associate themselves with the ISUPK. Go back and look at some old pictures of ISUPK, right? They're floating all over the internet. Hold your point. Go look at the garments that those brothers wore. Go look at how extravagant they were and how tawab they were. Now, when fake Israelites decided to break off and do their own thing, they said to themselves, what? We can't look like that anymore. We have to not look like that. We can't be UPK still. We have to look like United something. Gathering in Christ or something. Yeah, GNC, right? Right? You got to do that. And the first thing they decided to do was put little baby tassels. They call it a fringe, right? Little lampshade tassels dangling. That's the word, Salakia. Dangling around their wonderful undershirt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Ever so gently blowing in the breeze. And you know they got them on their socks too. They got a fringe on their socks.
You know I'm laughing because like the first day I came in here, I had it on.
No sweat. No sweat, brother. No sweat. Most High in Christ though. But go look at an actual, go to a museum, go watch a movie, go look at an actual native Indian garment. What you got, brother?
They put up a picture of a Passover, like I think it was like 98.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who was coming out of the Passover? They got the picture.
Risen.
Isupk from FOI, HOI.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming out of UPK Passover. They got a picture.
Yeah, I just seen a picture today from 1995. They showed Ariel was there, Masha. And RZA from Wu-Tang, he was there at the time, but he wasn't in the UPK. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, because he had connections, like I said, through the brother. Well, I think he's on Facebook. A brother named Shaya Ali, right? He was in school at the time, and they was both from Staten Island, so he had connections like that. But yeah, go look at a real native Indian garment, and you will see what real fringes look like.
All right.
When they move, they put their hands up, you'll see that fringe hanging on the seam, or what is it called in the Bible? The border of their garment. They don't put fringes on their goddamn undies.
They have it on the back.
Right, on the back, right? On the sides, on their pants, on the seam, right? That's where they put their fringes, and it's big hanging fringes looking real tawab, you know what I'm saying? Looking glorious. You having fringes on your t-shirt is not glorious. Salakia. It's just true. I'm not saying that if you have that, you can't come to the Passover. Please do. We'll talk about it later. But they kept those traditions, man. And now the so-called white man, the oppressor, you go look on his clothing stores and their websites. And now they're wearing fringes on their leather jackets. Yeah. And they're wearing ponchos. Go ahead.
I hate to say this.
Please.
But even the homos is wearing them.
Even no, definitely. They stealing it.
You know, they wearing it. Like, I got a picture on my Facebook page with these two homos. He's, wearing some like cowboy gear. And they got fringes on them.
Right. They've stolen that. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they did. Salakia. Oh no, we good at battery.
So?
Yeah, but the battery's good, but I feel like I'm going a little slow on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a lot different from the start. I don't know.
Oh damn,
Kind of like pixel color.
Yeah, no sweat. But yeah, so this what he said right here, the American Indian left no continuous record. He did not appreciate the value of tradition, and where is he today? It's a goddamn lie. But read on from there. I want you to see who he did try to give some credit to.
He did not appreciate the value of tradition. And where is he today? The Hebrew keenly appreciated the value of tradition. Ain't that something that they would say to Hebrew?
Right.
Why the interjection in Hebrew right there?
That's what he said.
The value of tradition, as it is attested by the Bible itself. In spite of worldwide persecution, therefore, he is a great factor in our civilization. That's a devil for you. You talking about the Hebrews, just said the Hebrews don't have no value in tradition, and then you just bring up the Hebrews as
He not talking about the Hebrew. That's the point. Right?
That's what I'm saying. But
Exactly. You just talk crap about the real Hebrew.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. And you give them credit. Well, the only reason why they stole the traditions of the ones that you just talked about. Exactly. Read on, brother.
By 1929, the Journal of Negro History was able to note that, with only 2 exceptions, officials with the state departments of education of every state with considerable Negro population had made the event known to that state's teachers and contributed official literature associated with the event. Now, that says a lot right there. Churches, also played a significant role in the distribution of literature in association with Negro History Week during this initial interval, with the mainstream and black press aiding in the publicity effort.
Now drop down to where it says United States Black History Month 1970.
Come. Black History Month was first proposed by black educators and black United students at Kent State in February of 1969. The first celebration of Black History Month took place at Kent State 1 year later from January 2nd.
From when?
January 2nd. 1970 through February 28th, 1970.
Read it. Yeah.
That was the same year. It was a big. That's when the Army. That's the same year the Army shot up
some
students
students?
at Kent State. That was the same year, 1970. It
That's
might be
interesting.
related.
Might be.
No. 6 years
And
later.
they celebrated Black History Month, seems like, for over a month.
Yeah.
They started in January
Like
2nd.
2 months.
Right, damn near 2 months. Read on.
6 years later, Black History Month was being celebrated all across the country in educational institutions, centers of Black culture and community centers, both great and small. When the president, Gerald Ford, recognized Black History Month during the celebration of the United States bicentennial, he urged Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishment of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history.
I need the scripture real fast. Give me Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7, man. Because this poor brother, man, Salakia, this brother Carter B. Woodson,
Right.
just knew he was just doing the right thing. And you gotta imagine that part of it is coming up in that society. Again, like I said earlier in the class, like when I was just piggybacking off what my brother was bringing out, heavy point before I came in about, you know what I'm saying, being a holy people. And us always looking for that aid from the oppressor. We always, that Stockholm syndrome, we always want him. It's like you ever like, you know, when your mom when your parent be mad at you, you know they mad at you that did something wrong. But the minute they give you that little flash of a smile or a little flash of something, you go, oh, it might be over. Like I'm good now. You know what I mean? Like we always looking for a flash of humanity from him. We've been beat down, oppressed, and destroyed since we got here. And the whole time he trained us not to want to be separate from him, which ironically, who else told us to be separate from him? The Most High did. But we don't want to be separate from him. We want to be approved of him. It's almost like we don't want the Most High to be our God.
We want the white.
We want the oppressor to be our God. We want to impress him. We want to listen to him. Be in his world, in his society, spend his dollars. You understand? Build up his infrastructure, his economy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to do. And this brother, unfortunately, going through that system, man, they're going through that education. I know what it's like, man. I've been there. And any of my brothers who know, if you've been in the higher education system, especially if you didn't go to an HBCU, not saying that exempts them, you know what I'm saying? Because those schools don't always, you know what I mean? They got their issues too. But if you go to a school that's not really on that, to a predominantly white school, you're automatically presented this no different than how it was back in the day, with image after image after image of white excellence. And not just excellence, because what we bring out here today as well, we're going to get to it, is they talk about Black excellence with Black History Month, but what about the goddamn context? What about the regular Black man who saved his family during the Civil War? By fighting, by he didn't fight for America because he loved America. He said, wait a minute, if I fight, then maybe I can free my family. What about the Black man who decided to risk his life by running away to freedom? Is he celebrated on Black History Month? Or do they just use Black History Month to put goddamn George Washington Carver on your McDonald's fries basket?
Right.
Please.
If I may, Black History Month is used really not to focus on Black history, but to take the focus off Black history. I remember there's a place in Harlem called the Schomburg Center. You ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
The Schomburg Center was started by a Puerto Rican brother, Ephraimite brother named Arturo Schomburg. And he collected in his lifetime a bunch of Black history around the earth. And he had a center in Harlem. It's still there. But in the early to mid 80s, they appointed a white curator, because it's like it came under the New York City Museum.
He was his last name was Schomburg?
Yeah, his name was Arturo Schomburg. He was from Puerto Rico. He was Puerto Rican, black Puerto Rican. Okay. And but he was Puerto Rican, he was an Ephraimite. Gotcha. And he started it, and his collection began that institution. It's still in Harlem, 135th Street, Links Avenue, right across the street from Harlem Hospital. And he, like in the mid 80s, let me just finish up real quick. They appointed a white curator because they brought it under the direction of the New York City Museum curators. That's another word. But they appointed a white woman as a curator, and it was like almost like a riot. But they in effect, like what I was told, I didn't know this was fact, but I was told that a lot of the documents that he had created, they took off of the display and like they put them like in the basement. You know, and it was more about like the stuff you talk about, the common people. Because that's the stuff that he could add. It was a great collection. They say it's still there. They say that.
I gotta do more research because I'm seeing here that he might have had a Edomite father.
Oh yeah,
he might have. Yeah.
Well, as far as I know,
his mother was a black woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was Shumba.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had an Edomite father.
I'm saying I got to do more research, but this is what it's saying right here. But this might not be completely accurate.
You know, because back then we didn't. If you we went with the 10th. What is it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Rule.
Yeah, of course.
If you had 1%
right,
black,
which is why Carter G. Woodson thought that Frederick Douglass was a black man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody kind of treated him like that back then. You know what I'm saying? But no, but that's interesting. But yeah, that's the thing. Now
they just control. They wanted to see. We think that they're giving us something, but in actuality, they're taking it away.
They absolutely are, right? And then they're just because what is there? First of all, there is no White History Month. White History Month is 12 months a year, every single day, and every single day you don't just learn about. You don't go to McDonald's and just see. You know what I'm saying? Give me one. You don't see goddamn. I don't know, Billy Joel, you know what I'm saying? Just standing there on your McDonald's cup or your Burger King fries. You don't just see give me some legendary white musician. I don't even know who the heck they got. Barbara Streisand. I don't know. Please,
if I may. But also, if you notice, in every Black History Month, the Jews come out with a movie about their Holocaust situation. There's a movie out right now with Al Pacino playing the Jew.
Wow.
I'm telling you, I've been noticing this for years. Every Black History Month, the Jews come out with a movie that's telling their story.
Doesn't surprise me. They're always trying to piggyback off what we do.
Exactly.
Every time. You know what I'm saying? But we don't, they know when you do that, you regulate Black history. I mean, I love Louis Armstrong, but Black History? Black History Month? Louis Armstrong? Black History Month. Martin Luther King. Mary McLeod Bethune. It's the same names all the time. Charles Drew, Garrett Morris. They love George Washington Carver and the Peanuts. Every single damn time since I was a kid. And there's nothing. I'm not going in on their contributions. But if you were to talk about real Black history, first of all, let's get one thing straight. Real Black history is in the Bible. So whenever they put out Black history and don't talk about King David, and don't talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and don't talk about Yahushua, guess what? They are lying on us. Because this is incomplete. It's still, we're going to read an article on that. It's still Black history in the context of slavery. You know what I'm saying? But let's finish this one before we jump to the next one. Jump down to where it says,
You want me to read the scripture?
Yeah, yes, please.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Yeah, oppression will make a wise. If you wise, you're gonna be angry about the thing that goes on. You know what I'm saying? But it also sometimes in the Bible, mad means it can make you lose your footing.
Yeah.
So oppression can make it the wise man mad. It can make you not know. You'll be lost, man.
Or react out of anger.
Carter G. Woodson. We often find ourselves trying to do the right thing, but because because we're oppressed, we say things like the Native Indians didn't appreciate tradition. What? Because we're oppressed, we say that, but then want to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And Frederick Douglass' birthday. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
And they give.
Read from the top. Read from the top.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift.
No. Read it again.
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Right.
And a gift.
Black History Week.
destroyeth the heart.
Read it again from where it says, and a gift.
And a gift,
Black History Month.
destroyeth. That's an excellent.
Read
That's
it again.
an excellent scripture for that. And a gift destroyeth the heart.
And a gift destroys your heart because you think because you got goddamn Black History Month that you've made progress.
Yeah.
That's what it's talking about. Oppression maketh the wise man mad. He doesn't know where to react. He doesn't know what's going on, which way is up. And a gift destroys your heart. You know what's a gift? We can drink from the same water fountain. That's a gift. That destroys your heart. Ask somebody, well, what progress have we made since the marches on Washington and all of that? What progress have we made?
Well, we've actually gone back because when the March on Washington occurred in September of '63, it's August, but anyway, the black family structure, it was like 85% of the black families were headed by the father at that time.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so that right there, it shows you the destruction of
Right. It seems like all the progress we've had has absolutely destroyed us. Destroyed us. You know what I'm saying? A gift destroyeth the heart. Everything they give you just is further destroy you. They gave you welfare, destroys you. They gave you food stamps and they gave you WIC and they gave you this and they gave you the projects and they gave you all, and you thought, oh man, this is wonderful. No, it destroys your heart. They gave you Black History Month and you thought this was beautiful because Gerald Ford decided, okay, well, we're gonna make it official. No, because now you say to yourself, well, I mean, this country can't be racist. How can it be racist? I mean, Harriet Tubman is on my large Coca-Cola. She's on my large drink. This is progress. You know what I'm saying? Please.
Just the way that they immediately instituted in all of the educational systems around the country, the way how quickly they bought into it. That tells you right there, man, that they was up to no good.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like all they wanted to do at that point, okay, they got this, we're gonna give them this, but we got to control this information.
Right.
So we know what kind of information.
100%. Now I sent you, go to the first article I sent you. So go to your text. Look at the very first one.
Black History Month is an annual. No, that wouldn't be the first one. Black History Month Wikipedia. That one, right?
No. The one that says Black History Month doesn't name white supremacy. It was the first one I sent you today.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this one up. Let's see what this is. Black History Month Wikipedia. No, we just did that.
No, you say go. So on your, it should be literally the first text I sent you today.
Okay, I got it. Black History Month doesn't name white supremacists and unwittingly facilitates it. That's the one, right? Okay. Learning tales of black exceptionalism and contrasting them to stereotypes of lazy sharecroppers underscores ongoing racial divides. It's been 50 years since Martin marched to Montgomery and Malcolm was massacred in Harlem. We don't need another Black History Month. We need a dismantling white supremacy.
So this is an article I believe written by a brother for The Guardian, right? His brother Stephen Thrasher. Now jump down to where it says, but there's a real danger to Black History Month. It's a paragraph.
But there's a real danger to Black History Month. It doesn't name white supremacy, and it unwittingly, Salakia, facilitates it. Each February in America, where we only get 28 days to remember that Black America did more than pick cotton, while Black Britons get a full 31 days each October, we simply get a big heaping dose of Black exceptionalism. And I cherish stories of Fannie Lou Hamer singing This Little Light of Mine just as much as I love tales of Harriet Tubman leading slaves home to the North.
Read nice and loud, go ahead.
But Tales of black exceptionalism are set in obvious contrast to the stereotypical and still resonant ideas of lazy slaves and disenfranchised sharecroppers. The real exceptionalism, which goes unspoken, is that which showed any resistance. The lazy slaves whose resistance to the system in which they found themselves could have cost them their lives. And the black sharecroppers granted the freedom to work on their former owner's plantation at his terms, usually in perpetual, unavoidable debt, where all exceptional, not for being better than their lazy brothers and sisters, but for superior, for structural racism.
Read that part again, that last sentence.
Not for being better than their lazy brothers and sisters, but for being superior to structural racism.
What is that saying? It's a lot there, right? He says it in the kind of that, sophisticated, what I'm saying, New York Times type rhetoric. What's he really saying?
You wasn't really free. You were still a slave. And everything that you did, the ones that was working the hardest, was really the ones that were like, used to uphold white supremacy. My grandparents in Louisiana were sharecroppers, and my grandfather worked, who I never met. They worked sharecropping for many years until they got some land. And once they got the land, the white folks took their land.
Okay. So what he's saying, read Deuteronomy 7:6 again. The water for bringing that out, y'all, that's so too up.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
But thou art a what?
A holy people.
But thou art an holy people.
That's right.
Thou art a set apart, exceptional people.
Right.
Every black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man is exceptional.
That's right.
Every black, Hispanic, and Native Indian woman is exceptional. Every single one. You don't have to have invented the stoplight.
Right.
You don't have to have invented the stopwatch or invented peanut butter or whatever else you did. Those are great things. And that just shows the heights that we can go to do things that even help other people's societies. But what's really exceptional is what the brother's getting at. What's really exceptional is how all of us are still here in the face of a monster called white supremacy. Like, how am I alive? How is this, how are we here? We talk about, I've never seen a Native Indian, but Native Indians are alive, correct?
Right.
They're on reservations. They're alive. Some of them are in the school right now. You ever stop and think, wait a minute, how are there any of you left? How are there any black men left? Do you know what kind of experiments slave masters were doing on black women? Do you want to know what kind of experiments they were doing on black men and women? Shoot, in the 1900s. They were purposely giving us diseases just to see what would happen. You understand? And then you're going to give me a Black History Month where you celebrate, one Negro in Slovakia in 20,000 who went to college, and was able to write books, which there's nothing wrong with that again. But then what are you saying about the brother who never even got an opportunity to learn how to read because the first time his his masters even saw him with a book in his hand, he was killed. Or whipped to the point where he never wanted to touch a book again.
Right.
Where's that at? And where is that at? When I go to McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King during Black History Month, you know what I'm saying? And Mary McLeod Bethune, or what's the sister with the hair, Madam C.J. Walker, is on my cup. Is there any part that talks about how their foreparents were slaves who escaped? Is there any talk about that? I haven't seen it.
No.
They leave that part out. Where's the part on, that's what the brother's asking. Where's the part on white supremacy? All of these great feats that happened didn't just happen in the vacuum. They happened in a real world where white supremacy was the rule.
Right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
And when you ignore that, then you're not talking about Black history at all. You're just giving us, you know what I'm saying, fan service. You're just giving us something to distract us from the reality of our situation right now. And we're going to read this a little bit more. We're going to close it out in about 3 or 4 minutes. We're just going to finish up here. So keep reading, brother. Mm-hmm. Read it loud, but read it a little bit quicker.
The white supremacy that prescribed black lives in history still exists today as, if not the guiding force in modern American life, politically, socially, and economically, in ways structurally significant and mortally dangerous, subtle, and rather overt.
Mm-hmm.
Black History Month simply ignores the ongoing existence of white supremacy and paradoxically acts as a pressure valve which allows it to continue.
Read on.
Perversely,
This was written at the time when Obama was still in office. Read on.
Perversely, having Barack Obama in the White House seemingly helps perpetuate white supremacy.
It does what?
Helps perpetuate white supremacy.
No, Obama in the White House was good for black people.
Helps perpetuate white supremacy.
Oh, read on.
Continue existence.
Uh-huh.
Both by highlighting that individual people of color can attain great heights, and by proving a focal
providing.
And by proving a focal.
And by providing.
You
too are.
And by providing a focal point for anecdotal individual acts of racial oppression. As Michelle Alexander wrote in The New Jim Crow, the current system of control depends on black exceptionalism. It's a good concept to know. It is not disproved or undermined by it.
Right.
The origin of exceptionalism tales highlighted every Black History Month can undermine seeing the systemic oppression still facing African Americans. That's good. Alexander described this very phenomenon while trying to make sense of the incarceration crisis in the age of Obama.
Read on.
Black success stories lend credence to the notion that anyone, no matter how poor or how black you may be, can make it to the top, if only you try hard enough. These stories prove that race is no longer relevant, whereas black success stories undermine the logic of Jim Crow. They actually reinforce the system of mass incarceration. Mass incarceration depends for its legitimacy on the widespread belief that all those who appear trapped at the bottom actually chose their fate.
Right. What's that saying?
That's that leadership that you were talking about.
Exactly. They don't. Black History Month doesn't help you or me. Just a regular lowly nigga in the ghetto or in the middle class, just a regular black man who goes to work every day. All it does is help them, because when you say, well, white supremacy this and white supremacy that, do you know who they mention? George Washington Carver, Jay-Z, Mary McLeod Bethune, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington. They bring out all these examples of black exceptionalism to say, well, if they did it, why couldn't you do it? If racism exists, then how did such and such, how did this happen? How did Madam C.J. Walker become a millionaire in the 1920s?
Black History Month helps facilitate this precise misdirection. It is yet another excuse to not deal with white supremacy and the possessive investment in white.
Drop that. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 29. We're going to end with that. Because at the end of the day, we got to realize, man, that it's all a ploy. Anything that they give you is a ploy. Anything that they give you is not for your benefit. No matter how much the more it seems like it's for you, the more it's just to destroy you or to help them, to aid them. Please.
If I may, just quickly.
Yeah, please.
I was trying to watch the Kobe Bryant thing today,
Mm-hmm.
but like it was supposed to be a celebration of his life,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the saddest shit. The saddest celebration. They had Alicia Keys and all these black people come out here and play these sad ass white songs on the piano and shit.
Jeez.
This shit was horrible. I couldn't even bear to watch it, man.
Somebody Jones and that crying one.
Yeah, I heard Joe was crying again. He cannot get on the stage now.
Yeah. You know, it was all like it was supposed to be a celebration of his life. You know, but the theme of it was like totally sad.
Morbid.
Yeah, man. The wife is crying and shit. I was like, God damn.
Good night. I have no interest.
Don't even bother,
I'm
man.
not bothering with it.
I tried to watch it, brother.
No sweat. Go ahead and read that out.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 29.
Man, we got to stop trying to get these white saviors, man. We got to stop trying to find ways. Hope the oppressor gonna give us a handout and it's gonna be beautiful. We're gonna hold hands and sing kumbaya. It's not gonna happen. We will not get free that way. The only way we're gonna get free is when a black man with a huge afro named Hausa comes back with how many angels, Mario? 200 million angels to completely take this man off his goddamn throne. And I cannot wait because there will be a lot of liquor in my cup. And me and my brothers and my sisters, we're going to toast. We're going to say, La Sha'Allah. We're going to get the hell up out of this place. Right. Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 29.
This is the history that we should have known. Read that.
And thou shalt grope at noonday. As the blind gropeth in darkness.
As the blind gropeth in darkness. We're going to be grabbing. We're going to grope at noonday. It's going to be light out. It's going to be noon, but we still reaching. But we reaching in the same way a blind man is reaching in darkness. Read on.
And thou shalt not prosper.
Thou shalt not what?
Prosper.
Thou shalt not what?
Prosper.
Thou shalt not prosper. Read on.
In thy way.
Yeah, you want to talk about Garrett Morgan. Well, let's see whether Garrett Morgan, did he die a rich man? I don't think he did. All these inventors they want to talk about, and all these scientists and these men who did this great thing and wonderful thing, but how did they treat them when they were alive? How did they treat them when they were alive? They want to talk about Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, now that he's dead, they want to celebrate him in Black History Month, and he's the greatest, and give him the documentary. Or when Muhammad Ali was alive, they hated his guts.
That's right.
Read on.
And thou shalt be only oppressed.
This is what I want. Thou shalt be what?
Only oppressed.
No, we're going to be rich and famous.
Only oppressed.
No, some of us who get rich and famous, they means that they really made it.
Only oppressed. And
spoiled
evermore.
If you are a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian man, woman, or child in America, anywhere on planet Earth, you are oppressed. That's it.
Right.
Nothing else. That's all it is. And that was prophesied thousands of years ago. That no matter how much you groped and reached and tried to find peace, you wouldn't find it. Read on.
And no man.
No. Abraham Lincoln.
And no man.
John F. Kennedy.
No man.
Carter G. Woodson.
No man.
Read on.
Shall save thee.
No man is going to save you from this oppression. Okay, no oppressor is going to come along and try to make your condition better. He's going to give you something to pacify you more, to make you a better slave, and that's the end of that. You understand? And with that, pass the class over to Police Officer Mario.
We ain't going to get this information nowhere else.
Right.